obviously this is probably going to be coming from partly a neutral perspective. I'm trying to be very unbiased when I speak about this, but also a very biased and Melbourne Victory centric perspective, right? Because as a fan, I couldn't be more just frustrated and disappointed with how everything has transpired this season. Of course, Victory have been a premier club for the A League for a long time. They of course had the 2 seasons in which they were more than disappointing. Last season was much better in terms of they were actually good. They made the semi-finals, lost was it 4-1 on aggregate to Western United, and who eventually won the thing, right? So not slightly underwhelming, but it's not as if it was the worst thing in the world. And Victory went into this season with a lot of expectation for a lot of people. Of course, the ins. Nani was, of course, the marquee player. He, of course, has suffered an ACL injury, which has been very disappointing. He won't play for the rest of the season. But even the likes of, I mean, later on, Bruno Fornaroli came a little bit later on. The likes of these players who have come in and who are like who are good A League players. Like the talent is very, very good, very good, very good individuals, and a lot of people just expected it to be the same thing, and the season didn't start all that great. It was, regardless of the results, the performances were slightly underwhelming, and a lot of people did sit back and think, you know what, probably just taking a while to ease into the season. Some injuries, players unfit, etc. It'll be a while until they properly ease into it, but you expect Victory to kick on a little bit later on. And it just didn't happen. It just did not happen. There's been no real something just is missing. Something is just missing. And it started pretty much straight away with that 1-0 loss against Western Sydney, which at the time a lot of people thought, you know what, it was a little bit of an unlucky goal to concede. Second game of the season, we'll probably rebound. The 2-0 loss in the derby to City was disappointing. Victory went down to 10 men after half an hour and probably arguably had the better of it in that 90-minute, in that hour after the red card. So, once again, disappointing, but you can kind of say, you know what, red card, shit happens. A 0-0 away at Brisbane was one of the most boring games I think I've ever watched in my life, which is which is going to become a theme. The 4-0 win over the Jets was great. Then the 3-0 loss away to Adelaide was just inexcusable. The 1-0 win away at Macarthur was, once again, boring as batshit, but Victory won. And, of course, that game, then of course, the derby happened. I mean, I've spoken about it enough. We all know what happened in the derby, and Victory were shit before the derby, and they were even worse after the derby. And do I say that what happened in the derby may have had an effect? Yes, I think it did have an effect. I think what happened at the derby in December definitely had an effect on the season. Definitely had an effect on the season, and it definitely had an effect on the psyche of the players, and it definitely did negatively impact the squad, in my opinion. Following that, a 1-0 loss at Western United, very disappointing. A 2-1 loss to Central Coast was very disappointing. Obviously, I'm going to say very disappointing as if any of those results are good results. The 1-0 loss at home to Brisbane was just inexcusable. The 1-1 draw away at Adelaide, once again, disappointing. 3-0 loss to Perth, 2-1 loss to Sydney. 3-1 win over Wellington was a good result. 2-1 loss to Newcastle was poor. The 3-2 win in the derby was very good. And that is of course something that gave Victory fans some hope. It's like, alright, if we can win this derby, we can kick on with the rest of the season. Drew to Adelaide at home. Obviously, we all know Irakunda's strike was unbelievable that game. And then, of course, a 1-0 loss to Sydney. Very disappointing. And the overall summation of this season is just boring. It is boring football. Like, it is just so... I don't know how to describe it. The way I would describe it is flaccid. Like, that. Like, I don't even know if that's an accurate term, but it's just flaccid, boring, just stale football. Defensively shocking, offensively bland as fuck, just bland as vanilla ice cream. There's no substance to it. There's no substance. Players underperforming, manager underperforming, the squad not clicking. Yes, injuries haven't helped, but that's no excuse for a team with the amount of with as much talent as Victory have got. If we bring up the heat map, from the game against Sydney, is it this one? It is this one. This is the heat map for the game against Sydney. Now it's set up in a 4-2-3-1. In a way, it's set up in a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. That's how SofaScore have got it set up. But basically, we can see what it is here, right? You've got the four at the back, Cadete pushing slightly further forward than Garia, Falami and Filipile on either side, Chapman and Brillante in the middle, which we'll speak about. And then, of course, this of course, in this game, Fornaroli did drop slightly deeper, which allowed Economides to break on in behind. I don't mind that in theory. Because Bruno is very technically gifted, very intelligent. He's very intelligent and is a player that can play in the number 10. So I don't mind that. And I don't mind Economides playing slightly further forward because he's very quick. At his best, he has a good eye for goal. He's physically quite capable, but this season he's just drastically underperformed, like horrendously underperformed. And he's been very, very poor. Same with Ben Falami. He has been very, very, very poor. And for a player who took a lot of strides last season, it's quite disappointing to see. But what does he show? It doesn't show anything. This heat map, I know heat maps you take them with a grain of salt, obviously, but when you look at heat maps, they do give a pretty good indication of the way teams would like to set up and how they would like to play. And there's nothing here. It's just boring. Like, it is just bland football. Just bland, boring, basic, vanilla football. And I want to bring up some stats. I'll cut back to me now, because when we think about Victory this season, and the reason why I wanted to speak about that midfield two in particular is because I feel like this season, and I know Chapman hasn't been at Victory for quite a while, Brillante has been the stalwart, is the captain of the team. He's past it. With all due respect, he's past it. I don't see a way Victory can even contend for a final again with him, let alone playing, like captain, let alone playing, right? And I think a stat that kind of bring this up is the fact that Victory have 6.94 average interceptions per 90. That is the lowest in the league by quite a considerable amount. And what this shows is we're just so easy to bypass, just so easy to play through, so easy to carve open. And we have no urgency. There is no urgency to press high. There's no urgency to be on the front foot, be aggressive out of possession, have this intensity, have this will to take the game to the opposition. What we saw last year with Victory at times, well, pretty much all of the season, is in possession, but out of possession as well. It was front foot, aggressive, high press, not like high intense pressing, but when they get the ball, go to them quickly, press high, be aggressive, don't be afraid to commit a foul, gamble, stick your foot in, gamble to get that interception so we can get that quick counter. Now, and even in possession, it was get on the ball, take a man on, use the overlaps, quick incisive passes, get a lot of shots off, test the keeper, be aggressive, be high tempo, be eccentric at times, be erratic. Don't give the opposition a position to kind of know what you're going to do. Whereas this season, I'm going to bring up some stats in a moment, show that not only a Victory ridiculously easy to bypass and ridiculously easy to play through, Victory are the most blunt team in the league. The attacking potency with a team that consists of Economides, Fornaroli, Ben Falami, Falupale. Bruce Kamau has just signed, Nick D'Agostino, Nani. Obviously, with Victory signed that Fernando Romero as well. For a team that has ridiculous amounts of attacking talent, the way that the output is just horrendously poor. Here's some stats. So Victory average 32% shots have a 32% shot on target percentage. It's the second lowest in the league, which means 32% of Victory shots are on target, which is the second lowest in the league. They have a 0.07 goals per shot ratio, ranking the second lowest in the league, and they have a 0.22 goals per shot on target in the league, ranking second bottom. That shows how blunt they are attackingly. Defensively, these are concerning. 3.61 shots on target against per 90, the second lowest, and 0.32 goals per shot on target. No, sorry, my mistake. 3.61, sorry, this is the stat that I wanted to say. 3.61 shots on target per 90 against. That is the second lowest, which means Victory concede the second lowest amount of shots on target per game. Good. That's a good, no? That's good until you say this. 0.32 goals per shot on target against, the second highest. So what that shows is teams don't need to pepper Victory with shots because Victory is so easy to break down and are so easy to pass through and are so easy to create clear-cut opportunities against that what's the point of taking random pot shots from 30 yards? We can just play 1-2 passes and all of a sudden you're 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. That's why teams don't need a lot of shots to score goals because the shots that they're taking are from really, really easy positions to score because Victory is so easy to break down. So when you get a team that concedes a lot of shots on target against, one of two things is the reason behind it. One thing is because teams have to pepper shots from ridiculous angles that are going to get blocked or they're going to be easy saves from the goalkeeper because teams are very hard to break down, or what the case is with Victory. Because if it was what I just said, if that was the case, the goals per shot on target ratio would be very low. The goals per shot on target ratio for Victory against is very high, meaning what's the point in taking a random pot shot from 30 yards, which the keeper will easily save, when we can just play one pass here, one pass there, all of a sudden we're in behind and we've got a much easier chance of scoring and probably then actually scoring the goal. It's just absurd. And I know the signing of Damien Da Silva has been pretty good. I thought he played okay on the weekend, but it was just so bland. It's just so boring. I think the absence of Rai Marchand is something that is understated. Victory last year struggled a lot without him. Victory went on that period last year. If I can bring it up, Victory last season when they were very good, went on this period throughout the season where they had underperformed. They lost maybe 3 or 4 games in a row. Yeah, they lost to the Phoenix away 1-0. Marchand didn't play in that game. They lost to the Jets at home 2-1. Marchand didn't play in that game and they lost to the Wanderers 2-0. Marchand don't think played that game. He didn't play that game. And then I'm pretty sure he returns against Central Coast. No, he doesn't return against Central Coast, but it goes to show that without him, Victory was struggling big time. They lost 3 in a row. They lost 3 in a row. The 3 in a row with him out. They lost 3 in a row with him out, and his absence was heavily felt. And I think it's been heavily felt again this year. He's obviously missed, 5 or so games. He was on the bench on the weekend, but he missed, I think, 5 or so games with concussion. Pretty sure it was a concussion anyway. His absence has been sorely missed. There's just a lot wrong, and I think this does fall to the manager. And I think it is I think he has to go. I think he does. I don't know. It's really tricky. It's tricky because you can say he needs to go, but who do you replace him with? Do you write this season off? I think you do, because I think Victory have to win 7 of their last 8 games to even have a sniff at finals or something along those lines. So the season is all but a write-off. So I don't really think you can kind of say, let's keep him and push for finals. I don't know. Who do you get in? That's the question. Who do you get in? Because it's not as if there's a clear, obvious answer unless you try to poach someone from the NPL. NPL enthusiasts will probably know some potential candidates for that. I probably am not knowledgeable enough to be certain in my predictions. There's some names in mind, but I don't really know. I don't want to say them and risk being made a fool out of. So, yeah. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're a Victory fan, if you're an A-League fan, should Victory sack Popovic? Because we all know the way that Tony Popovic likes to play football. For the most part, he's quite defensively minded and hasn't had the best of records in grand finals. So if Victory were to get there, we don't know what would happen there. Is this his ceiling? Is he regressing as a manager? Is it just wrong fit, wrong squad, wrong timing? Or is it a thing of everything has gone wrong this season? Let's rebound, keep him, get some signings, flesh out all the dead wood, and re-go again next year. I don't know. I guess let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, I think that's enough with speaking on Victory because otherwise I'll go insane. Let's go on. Let's speak on. Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the other Melbourne side.